Hello and welcome to the summary for the 11th grade success session that was held on Friday, November 20th. That's success session number 4, as it'll be referenced in your email that I'll be sending you. If you were absent from this success session, I'll be sending you an email with the homework assignment. But maybe you're just watching this to kind of get some ideas on final exams or refresh your memory on anything that we went over. So either way, we'll be referring to this as success session number 4. We started the day with some news and announcements, mostly just kind of about how to wrap up your first semester here with the middle college. The first topic that we discussed was winter registration. As of this meeting, we had only 29 students left who hadn't registered, which was only 9% of your 11th grade cohort, which is great. We're very pleased with that. As of this morning, December 2nd, we only have 14 students left to register. So if you're one of those 14 students, you should have an email from Mrs. Barr letting you know that. So please check your SE4 email. If you are one of the few students who you're having trouble with your SE4 email, or it's not showing up on your iPad, or you're having technical difficulties with your iPad, please come into the middle college office and we can get that fixed up for you. We can also set up your email to be on your phone. If that's something you would like as well and you don't know how to do that, please come into the office and we can help you with that. But as I've mentioned over and over, it's very important that you check your email regularly. This is how we communicate all of these regular updates with you. And if there is something that's actually urgent, that's going to be how we contact you first. We will follow up, but please don't miss an important email and end up having something bad happen because of it. So if you are pretty sure you're registered, but you just want to double check, you don't have an email from Mrs. Barr, but you just want to double check your schedule or your times or where your classes are at, you can check that in your academic profile on your SE4 portal. We have some websites on our video that show you how to register, confirm everything, so you can check that there. The website you can access by entering tinyurl.com/BWMC success, and I will show you actually when you enter that, it will bring you to actually a longer site, sites.google.com, blah, blah, blah. You don't need to know that, but you should have this bookmarked. We're posting more and more information there. Ideally, we would like to have everything that you would need to know in this one place, and we're working on getting that done over this school year. This will have a calendar, any kind of important stuff, but mainly where I'm discussing is where you can check, am I registered? So here are some steps that you can go through to find that. If you are still having trouble with registration, you can watch the videos here. But definitely check here first, and then if you're still having trouble, you're always welcome to come into the middle college office and we can help you with that. You can still change some classes, but we ask that you're very careful in doing that. So we've had students in the past who have wanted to change their class. They dropped the class that they were registered for before they register for the new one, and then they go to register for the new one and it filled up just in those few minutes. It sounds crazy, but it does happen. So please make sure that if you're making changes, get the new stuff set up before you drop the old stuff. And of course, if you have any questions or you need any help, come into the office. Very important is to make sure that there are actually open seats in the new section. And we explain kind of where to find all that information in those videos on the website that I just showed you. As far as the textbook return and pickup, you do have to return your fall textbooks. Those were not yours to keep, but you already knew that. We ask that you bring them in that week of finals, which is December 14th through 18th. Preferably not any earlier, but it is fine on our end. Mostly we're just concerned we don't want you bringing those textbooks in before you're done using them. However, we do know that some of your classes, you probably are already done using them. For example, most of the sections probably of college success, you do that final paper which you have referenced your book, but you're actually already up and presenting those right now in these final few class periods. So you may be done with your book. If you are done, you can bring those in at any time to the Blue Water Middle College office. Mrs. Lawson is the person to see, but any of us can take those. But please, if you still have a final that you have not studied for, just bring them in when you're done with your last final. We'll be in the office all that week. And basically we've got a few business days before SE4 closes for the holiday. SE4 will be closed from Thursday, December 24th through Sunday, January 3rd. So we'll be back in the office on Monday, January 4th. But we still have to resort everything and get it ready based on what everybody's registered for winter. So those textbooks will be available to pick up starting that Thursday, January 7th, and really whenever you have a chance to come in. Classes do start that following Monday, January 11th. So we will be in the office Monday the 4th, and then you've got a week if you have any last minute questions before the winter classes start on Monday the 11th. For your final grades, report cards are not sent home, which is, I know, probably maybe a good thing or a bad thing, depending on how you did. You can access those under the WAVE in your portal under the academic profile. So basically the same directions that you would follow as for how to make sure that you're registered over here where it says, am I registered? You can go into your portal, you go to the WAVE academic profile, and instead of selecting view print my class schedule, you would say view my current grades or view my final grades. I'm not sure the wording exactly. It's pretty clear, but we can also help you with that if you would like. All right, so a lot of times people are not pleased with their grades and they hear that there's that option out there to appeal grades. It's not really an option. It's not as easy as what it sounds. If you did receive a grade that you're not pleased with, it's more important that you reflect on how that happened and come up with a plan to make things better next semester. If you have a low grade at this point, that's something that you really need to reach out to your instructor and should have been doing a lot earlier in the semester. Appealing a grade after it's been posted on SE4, the portal and all that, it doesn't really ever get approved. The only case in which it would is if the professor made an error based on what they weighted the grade or it was a calculation error. So if it's one of those two things, you can appeal, but otherwise we ask that you please don't clog up the SE4 system that way. If you're not pleased or something has happened, please let us know. We are kind of keeping track of that, and we'd like to help as much as we can, but most likely we would just recommend that you take that and reflect on it for next semester. And that will be something that we're also going to discuss in today's session. So the grades are technically due from the instructors on Monday, December 21st. They're usually pretty great about getting those posted by then for this semester because the instructors want to be done and ready on their break too. So they might post them as early as a couple hours after your final exam or that week of exam. So if you're super curious, you can be checking that week. Definitely check the 21st. We'll then be getting a report from SE4 with everybody's final grades, probably that Tuesday or Wednesday, and we'll be reaching out to you and your parents if you receive a C- or lower, just like we did with early alert grades. So if you know that's going to happen, give your parents a heads up. We likely will not get to those calls and emails until after the new year when we're back in the office on the 4th, because rarely do we get that report any sooner than the Wednesday of the grade week. On the grade side of things, if you earn a 3.0 or higher and you're taking 6 or more credits, you can make the president's list. In a lot of cases, though, 11th graders in their first semester don't hit that 6 or more credits. Maybe you're taking the 2-credit college success and your second class is a 3-credit class. So you would not be eligible for the President's List, but keep up the good work, and likely you will be next semester when you're taking at least 6 credits. It's great for your resume. And on the other side of things, we may have some students who fall under the SE4 academic warning policy. If you fall under a 2.0 GPA, you're placed on academic warning. You then have 1 semester to get your GPA above a 2.0, or then you're suspended from classes for a semester. If you are concerned about falling under that, please reach out to us, but we will be getting that report from SE4 as well shortly after the new year, and we'll be reaching out to students that do fall under that academic warning, and we also like to reach out to students who are close to that academic warning status, students that might have fallen in the low 2 points. So again, keep an eye on your email. You can check your GPA also in your portal, so if you want to just double check things, you should do that. Fun news, we'll be having kind of a little Christmas gathering. That will be on the afternoon of December 17th. We're not exactly sure of the times just yet, but probably a couple hours in that afternoon. So that's that Thursday of finals week. You can bring a snack to share. We'll have pop, punch, juice, and probably a couple snacks as well. Excuse me. And the final reminder is that we'll be having SAT prep sessions after the new year in January and February. They are free, they are optional, and we'll have a session for each content area. So there will be 3, maybe 4 weeks, depending on if Mr. Spencer wants to break up the writing and language. We'll be going through some study options and different resources that are out there to help you study, as well as kind of some of the differences between the ACT and the SAT. So to get into it, the first reflection that we ask students to complete and write at this success session is a letter to a possible future student. So just think back to yourself a year ago as a 10th grader, where you're trying to decide whether you should do the Blue Water Middle College. And you may have friends that are in this position right now, and you've already spoken to them, and if so, that's great. But we're asking you to write these up, and we're actually going to share a lot of the comments, good and bad, with the 10th graders as they go to those overview sessions and as they come to their individual interviews. We really want students to have a clear picture of the good and the bad. So we would like you to write a letter to a future student and just let them know kind of what your thoughts on the transition have been. So you can tell them about your feelings about making this switch, what your experience has been like. Are you glad you did, and why? If you're not glad, why? And really be brutal and honest if you need to be about the bad. But look at it a little bit also about what those challenges are, and have those challenges kind of been a good thing for you. We've had a lot of students that maybe this is the first time they've been challenged in a class, or it is challenging to kind of balance it all. But now that they have kind of mastered those challenges, they find they've got a lot more confidence as a student. So there's definitely good, bad, challenges, ugly, and it can be a lot about how you handle it that might be a good or a bad experience. So please be honest and open, and we'll be not sharing your name, so don't feel worried about that. We'll just kind of be taking quotes that different people have and compiling it for the future students who look it over. The other reflection that we asked you to do, and on the email that we send you with the homework, there will be 2 attachments. And the first that we want you to look at is the choices of successful students. And this is actually the front cover of your college success books. And so you talk a lot in your classes about victims versus creators. Are you a victim where you're kind of making excuses and struggling, or are you a creator where you're taking challenges and, as I just kind of talked about, mastering them? And this breaks it down based on your 8 chapters that are in the book about, are you being a creator or are you being a victim? as far as self-responsibility, self-motivation, self-management. So we ask that you read through this attachment that we'll be sending, or look in your book. And then the second is more about the specific language that we all use. And we talked about this a little bit in the session, that no one is all creator or all victim. People have strengths and weaknesses depending on the areas. And myself and Mr. Ruiz and Mrs. Barr, we spoke a little bit about what are our challenges, what are the things where I know that I could be doing better. Let me think of an example. There's some where maybe you compare yourselves to your classmates and then just start to think that you could never do as well. Where a more creative person would say you're going to seek help from those people. So read through this attachment as well. But we did discuss that we've seen little bits of kind of all of these. I've had students tell me they're terrible at math, and instead of trying and working harder because they're bad at it, they just kind of give up. Or the instructor is boring. College success is a stupid class. And so we see a lot of these instances kind of where people are using victim language instead of really being proactive and seeking out solutions instead of just the problems. So again, this is just kind of for you to reflect on which pieces are you doing well with, which pieces do you need to maybe be a little bit more of a creator on. And so definitely read through those two handouts, and then you're going to get back to, we want you to write at least 3 paragraphs on where you feel you are in that continuum, because it is a continuum. No one, like I said, no one is all creator or all victim. You're probably somewhere in between, or maybe you're a great creator and very proactive when it comes to self-management, but when it comes to believing in yourself, you're maybe not on that side of it. So look through your the handouts and think about where you fall in each of those, and we'll have a few other prompts on your homework email as well that you can reflect on. And the last piece here was about studying for exams. So in your college success, you learned about the core learning system, and Mrs. Barr went through this a little bit. Basically, your semester is spent collecting the information, that's the lectures and the reading and notes and all of that, and it's now time to organize and rehearse so that you can do well on the evaluations. Basically, your final papers, your final exams. So mostly, we just included some strategies, and you have learned about almost all of these in your college success class. So really, it's about thinking about these strategies, getting kind of a list together, and deciding which ones work for you as a student and which ones work for the classes that you're taking. For example, you may not need to create comparison charts for your college success class. Maybe it's more about concept maps or concept blocks, creating outlines. So it's really about what works for you, what works for the class that you're taking. So you should definitely look through your book and come up with some more ideas here. But definitely we do find these are the 3 big ones that people use a lot of. Creating outlines, creating flashcards, diagrams and drawings. Especially maybe the flashcards if you have a lot of vocabulary. You're in maybe political science is your second class and it's hard to keep all the terms straight. That would be a great way to do that. And if you have any questions about how to study or you would like help on that, you can come in. We can do some study groups. You can reach out to students in your class. The second piece is basically, have you started to organize? Have you taken all of your notes and gotten them organized, looked at kind of what the topics are, and look at, again, what strategy will work for you? It is much harder if you just kind of have it all thrown in a folder and you never look at it. That's not studying. You took the notes and then never did anything with it. The studying is where you actually rehearse and memorize and review and all that. Some other strategies for the rehearsing and memorizing part. You're going to review what you have. Again, reading through your notes, reciting your notes, visualizing, rewriting. We hear that a lot, that sometimes it's just the muscle memory, basically, where you're going to write things. You are processing it in a different way. But a lot of this may be, you can just be copying it, but a lot of it is, can you reproduce what you have learned without looking at it? Cornell study sheets are another great tool that you can kind of condense and summarize. That helps you process the material in a different way. Testing yourself, if you're in a class where maybe you have some practice problems, particularly in math, because all of this is going to be for your college classes, but you can also and should also use these tools for your high school classes as well. You can practice your academic skills, study with flashcards, again, a really useful tool if you have a lot of vocabulary to memorize or learn. Memorizing by chunking, acronyms, acrostics, I'm not familiar with that, or associations. And then review it all. It's not going to be just a 2-hour thing where you do this or read your notes and that's it. That's not studying for your exam. It really is going to involve some time, and it's going to involve some work where you're really being conscientious and intentional with this. And that is actually the end of it all. So we'll be sending an email with with maybe these notes here for you, so you can have these strategies to look at and remember as you're starting to do your organizing and rehearsing and memorizing and all of that. Again, it's all in your college success book, so you can and should look through that, even though you may already be done with that book as far as the actual assignments for your college success class. You should look through it for some ideas. We'll be asking you as part of the homework, and you should also be thinking about this in terms of your studying and just kind of these final weeks of class. What grades and assignments and tests do you actually have left in each class? If you don't know that right now, you really need to look at your syllabus and make a plan and see where you're at for these last few weeks. Do you actually have official final exams in your classes, or is it, like I mentioned earlier, where you just have a final paper? And then if you don't know, you should definitely reach out, speak to your instructor, look at the syllabus, do that whole grade calculation thing that we taught you how to do at the beginning of the semester, and find out what is your current grade right now. If you don't know that going into your finals, it's going to be really hard to kind of have an idea of what you need to do and where you need to get in order to get the grade that you want. As part of the homework, we're going to ask you to name some study strategies based on these lists and what you've reviewed in your college success book. We want you to name some study strategies, but we also want to know, why are you using that particular strategy for that particular class? Like, for example, how I mentioned, I've got flashcards. I'm going to be using them for my Spanish 101 because I have to memorize all of those words and terms and phrases. So we want to know why you're using them. We want to know that you know why you're using them, instead of just kind of rewriting things and not really knowing what the goal is. So that is all for today. We'll be sending an email again to students who were not present, and the homework for this session will be due on Monday, December 21st. So please make sure you get that in. If you have any questions, feel free to stop into the Blue Water Middle College office, which once again is in room 123 of the Atchison Technology Center, just down the hall from our former office. And if you have any specific questions, you can also call me, Ms. Weimer. My direct line is 810-989-5836. So good luck on your homework for this. Good luck on your final few weeks of your first semester. And I hope everybody gets good grades and I don't have to call any parents about the grades. So good luck and thank you. Have a great holiday.